Hey, Maxim, welcome to my startup podcast. A pleasure to have you on, and I appreciate you for logging on in the evening. I know you're in Paris time right now.
Yes, hey, hi, Brenda. It's a pleasure to be on, and thanks for having us. I'm calling you from Paris, but we're still in the sunlight here.
That's good. And yeah, thanks so much for coming to my event the other week. It was a pleasure to meet you there, and it's always cool to see people with a hardware product because you get to really feel hold it in your hands or to feel it. And you at my event you had with you your wearable smart device. I don't know if you guys would call it. It doesn't tell time, but it is like a watch, right? Or it does. Does it have a time?
It doesn't tell the time just yet. It's what I'm wearing here. I think some
It's right
people
there.
can see
Yeah.
it. It's a cooling bracelet, so it's a wearable that solves the problem on your wrist. It cools your wrist to help your whole body cool down. We might be turning it into a watch into the future, but the first version, which is this one, is purely focusing on cooling down.
Yeah, it's a very cool device, and it does work. I've tried it myself, so it's cool to have that firsthand hand feedback. But before we dive into the product, do you mind just telling me a bit about your background? I know as we just talked off camera, you're born and raised in Paris, and but yeah, do you mind just telling me a bit more about yourself, where you're from?
Of course, yeah, with pleasure. So I was born and raised in Paris, but actually moved to London when I was 18 years old, right after my high school. And I worked in the music industry for 10 years first. I was managing
Okay,
artists, and then I worked at Universal Music for several years as well, doing creative and brand partnerships. So we're working with the biggest artists in the world to try and create projects with some very big brands. For example, we did a project where we launched the first VR headset from Samsung. So we did the first VR live stream gig ever with years and years with a massive band in the UK and Samsung. And then about 8 years ago, I decided to leave the music industry to become an entrepreneur and start creating businesses that would have a positive impact on the world. So my first company was actually a consultancy in research and development. So we're helping companies doing R&D to find funding for it. And so I did this for a few years, grew a customer base of about 200 clients,
nice.
helped companies raise more than 50 million pounds. And then we exited that business to get into the thick of it and become a hardware entrepreneur. Kind of wanted to, be a bit of an inventor, I guess, and create new things as opposed to not just help other companies do it, but actually do it ourselves. And that's how we started MyCelsius.
Gotcha. And how tough was that to transition from music to the tech scene? I mean, was it intimidating at first to make that big transition?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think because for me to get into the music industry was a big unknown. But when I was 19 years old, I didn't know much about music. I had no connection in the
Right.
music industry. I kind of knew the blueprint of breaking into a demanding industry already, which is
Right.
just to hustle hard. I guess that's how it starts. So it was, but I was confident from my previous experience that I could try and do it.
Gotcha. And that first consulting company, what was it focused on? You said you guys raised a lot of money. Was it consulted to help startups raise money or?
So we were helping companies access certain funding programs in the United Kingdom for innovation. So if a company creating something new, it could be in tech, in biotech,
Yeah.
regardless of the field, I guess. But as long as it was progressing the field of science of technology, we could help them raise funds from different programs and especially from public funding programs. But they're quite difficult to get. So our job was to identify the right project innovation and then prepare the applications for these funding programs and deliver that funding for those companies. And we work from startups to PLCs to large companies as well. We had some very, very big companies in our portfolio of clients, as well as very young startups just starting out. So what was very valuable in that experience is I got to talk to hundreds of founders, both CEOs and CTOs. And so I got to hear the story of many founders firsthand, and especially the
Yeah.
technical story of how they created, complex innovation. So that kind of acted as a blueprint as well for myself in how I started myself.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I hope to get similar experience from doing these interviews and talking to all you fellow founders. And but it's a smart idea to kind of offer as a service, helping companies out with all those applying for grants or different programs because there are so many out there, but a lot of times people just feel I mean, I know from my own self, like say applying for scholarships or something like that, it just feels like you're sending an application into a black hole. You don't know if it's gonna just be a waste of time. And so it's good to have someone guide you through that because you often hear, oh, people did make it, they did win this grant, they did win this thing. And wow, I wish I had, actually followed through
Mhm.
on that. And so it's a good idea to have a service to kind of lead people through that. Yeah. But yeah, let's move on to, your current product, which we just saw before. So for your current company, I mean, how did you initially think of this idea? Did it come through customer discovery or did it come through more, did it evolve from a different idea?
I guess the premise of MyCelsius is that our mission is to become the future of personal cooling. So we want to help people protect. We want to help people protect their health and their body against heat. So and where that comes from is I suffer a lot from overheating myself, and especially from hot flashes. And in my case, it's due to stress and anxiety. So I was always frustrated with the fact that there aren't any sort of personal cooling solutions, or at least not very innovative or efficient ones. And so the idea came from why always cool down the whole room when you could just cool down your body? That might be more efficient and
Right.
also that might be more environmentally friendly. So that's how the idea stemmed. And the first idea was actually around the bracelet format, saying if you cool your wrist, it helps your whole body cool down, which is something in France, for example, where in the summer, your grandmother will tell you, rub an ice cube on your veins or at the back of your neck, because these are strategic points and your body will help you, like, it'll help you cool down. So that's how I guess the whole idea stemmed. And then, so I started this way. And then very early in my journey, I met my co-founder, was an ex-Dyson and Formula One engineer, specialized in cooling technology to help me
Oh,
build the tech.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very almost serendipitous to
Yeah.
meet with Angus O'Donovan.
And sorry, where did you meet him?
It was a friend of a friend, basically. So a friend of mine
Okay.
was an engineer, and I was asking him advice on how do I source the right co-founder? I need a CTO. I said, oh,
Right.
I might just have the right person. So I came to meet Angus a couple of weeks later and showed him how far I got. But I told him, like, look, I need a partner to help me grow this business. And I need a teammate. So are you interested? And things we started, experimenting, working together,
Yeah.
and then very quickly we realized, we both wanted to work together, and it's been one of the best decisions we've made. 4 years later, we're lucky to be very complementary as well in that regard.
That's great. Yeah. No, that's great to find like such a great founder. I hope that at my events there's those kinds of serendipitous meetings where you meet the exact person that you need to know. Or a lot of times it's like there's so many interconnections that either the person that you meet at a a tech event or someone that they know, is someone that they
Mhm.
can introduce you to. So there's always some kind of like close connection or good connection you can get because so many people at these events know other people that are also in the same space. So it ends up being
And
that way.
And it's one thing in those early days of the company, very early days of the startup, when you have so many questions and not many answers yet, to go and meet people for coffees and tell them what you do and ask them what, obviously people with relevant experience, how would they go on about, you
Yeah.
know, doing one thing or another. That always, it's not just about the knowledge you get, but you're asking people, do you have anyone in your network that would be, worth talking to? So that's definitely one of the best things to do when you start.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it gives you a frame of reference. It grounds you in this often, very, very lonely or individual path of starting a company. So it's good to have that. So how did it develop into the current solution of a watch on your wrist? Like for example, I mean, there's some things that are maybe different about this device versus say an Apple Watch or something. So there's two sides to it. It's I guess how does it connect directly to your phone if it connects to the app, right? So tell me more about the design process.
Mhm. So we early in our journey, we were incubated by Bupa, who was a big healthcare group, one of the biggest in the UK and in the world. And we knew for such a cooling bracelet, there would be many potential applications. And a big one was for hot flushes, and especially women who struggle with hot flushes during
Uh,
perimenopause or menopause. And so when we work with Bupa, they connected us to a support group for women going through perimenopause inside Bupa. And that's where we
yeah,
learned a lot about this challenge and how, the impact it had on their lives, on their well-being, their health, their sleep. and how little solutions there were. And so that's when we decided, okay, we want our first application, our first product to be focused on a woman's health application because there's a huge gender health gap. And
Yeah.
we wanted to be part of the solution as opposed to, perpetuating the problem. So talking about, the design and the development process, that was a key element because then let's design a product that first and foremost will be targeted at hot flushes and for an application that needs to sit into someone's daily life, that needs to be discreet and that needs to be aspiring and engaging to wear and to activate. And so that's why the first product we have, which you can see here, I can actually perhaps show you a bit better on camera how it's composed.
Yeah.
It's a cooling bracelet. And so this part of the bracelet here is a cooling plate, like an ice cube. And it activates through a thermoelectric system through the top. So you have two buttons, one cold and one hot. You can also warm your wrist. And at the heart of the product we've developed is the lower part, the cooling plate, is
Okay.
one of the smallest and most powerful cooling systems in the world. And so we integrated into this form factor. And this first version is actually 100% analog, which is quite controversial in a world full of data. But that's done on purpose because we wanted people to be able to focus on the intervention this wearable brings, i.e. a cooling sensation for when you're overeating and helping you cool your whole body down by connecting with your brain's thermostat, the hypothalamus, and sending it neuronal signals to trigger the mechanisms that cool your body down. We're already working obviously on a version also integrating sensors and data tracking capabilities that will then help with detecting hot flushes and automatically activating the device, which can be particularly valuable during sleep. And from that point on, then we will connect through an app that helps control the device, plan cooling sessions, and things like this. However, for this first application, we want it to be analog, so it's all operated on the bracelet, and there's different functionalities to cover for hot flushes during the day, or if you're struggling at night, or if you need different intensities. But it's a really, I guess, sensorial experience first. We want people to focus on what it does, which is to cool your wrist by 10 degrees in 10 seconds and up to 20 degrees in 3 minutes, which is very strong as a cooling sensation. And so in terms of getting people used to it and adoption, it's important that the product first focuses on that main functionality, which is to cool you down.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great that you guys found your kind of target market segment to start off with, women with hot flashes. Of course, it's always good to have that to start off with the people that need it the most. And I was thinking the exact same thing, like that you mentioned, which it is a lot more previously. What it is a lot more efficient to cool down just one person than the entire room. And that makes a lot of sense to if you're laying in bed at night and you're feeling hot, just turn on this device. You don't have to cool down the entire room. And it's also good for not everyone likes the same temperature, right? And so it's
Exactly.
individualized. And so maybe if you're living with someone, your partner, and they don't like it to be so cold, but you do, then you can customize that temperature for yourself and not cool down the entire room so that they're freezing and you're comfortable. So it's nice that way. And one aspect of air conditioning though is that it can there's I guess feedback. Like it measures the temperature of the room as it's going out cold air. Does your device does it check to see, okay, the person's gotten down to this temperature, or does it right now is it more just focused on cooling and then the person can adjust themselves?
It's the latter. This first version, which we launched on the market in Europe at the end of last year, in October 2025, is all manually activated and managed by the user.
Gotcha.
And that's also because during a hot flush, the fact to because hot flushes are very debilitating. They kind of once they start, it's like you lose control a little bit, and all you're looking for is a solution, is something to cool down. Is that breath of fresh air. So by taking action into activating the device and feeling its cooling device, you're already with your brain working towards regaining control and regaining calm in those moments. So that's why it was important for this first device to be manually activated. In the future, on the other products we're working on, there will be interactions with the environment, and the device will be able to also access data from the weather, for example, or maybe from a room, and to be able to feedback in that respect.
Yeah, no, I think that's it makes sense to start off that way because something like your body temperature is, people don't want to lose control of that. So they don't want if in the early phases, if the technology is adjusting, not quite properly, then it's a big inconvenience to have like a poor body temperature regulation. So to have that control in the first phase, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Um, and have you had to work with any like industry players? Like, do you need approval from anyone to ship a device like this? Is it considered a medical device, in which case it needs like certain medical approval?
It's a very good question. So it's actually this one is not a medical device, and it doesn't
Okay,
need to
yeah,
be because it's non-invasive. It's like applying an ice cube on your wrist, really, but
right,
that doesn't melt and look stylish. So in UK
yeah,
and Europe, we have a UKCA marking, but we're not a medical device per se, and it doesn't need to be. There's only another product similar like this one on the market, actually in the US, and they're not a medical device either because they're considered a wellness device. It
gotcha,
could be interesting to look into. It could be certainly
sure,
certified if we wanted to, but it would take much more time and capital to achieve so, and that might unlock some commercial opportunities. But currently, for us, the best return we can have is from our customers and how they feel. And so we did conduct medically validated user trials during the development with women going through perimenopause. So we had a team of doctors, menopause specialists, women going through perimenopause to help us conduct those trials, to design the trials, run them, analyze the results. Then we wrote some white papers that were peer reviewed.
yeah,
And we got about 80% of positive results on the device capability to elevate hot flushes, which is very
that's
strong.
great,
And
yeah.
the more we constantly conduct more trials, and the more we do, the more that score goes up as we've improved the product as well since those trials.
Yeah, no, it's always good that there is that sort of I don't want to call it a back channel, but that alternative route when you're in the early phases of a non-invasive health application or device. It's nice to not have to go through all the hoops of getting through regulation. That of course, larger companies, they always have an easier time because they have entire legal departments that can handle this stuff, and
Mhm.
so it makes it tough for startups to really get a foothold. And so it's nice. If it's not an invasive device to have this sort of to start off in the wellness category, and then as you get feedback and as you get to know people, make connections that um with people that are adjacent to the health industry or in it, um then you'll have an easier time, by pulling on those connections to get through the medical route
Mhm.
once if you decide to go that route. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice
exactly.
to have that route.
It's a debate currently in the UK where the company is based. Where should you go wellness or medical device
Yeah,
route? And I think each company startup and each product has its own truth
yeah,
and a better pathway. I think for us, what was more important was to get the product on people's wrist as quickly as we
exactly.
could, so we could get the feedback from our users because it is a very new kind of technology and product. So we wanted
Yeah.
the feedback from real users as quickly as we could so that we can learn and keep improving it as well.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the essential part with any product is getting that user feedback to find out, is this even something that people want to, and if not, then you can
Exactly.
pivot and you can iterate on it. Because you don't want to spend a year or more going through a medical pipeline just to find out, oh, no one wants this product.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's a very good point.
it's a lot of wasted time. And yeah, I just wanted to dive a bit more into the hardware of the product. So how does it actually cool? I mean, how does it actually get the heat away from your body?
That's a very good question. So we've built one of the smallest and most powerful cooling systems in the world, which is
Yeah.
located in this part of the device. It's a thermoelectric cooling system. And so it's the system we've created is patent pending. So we are there's
Nice.
I can't say too much in the actual inner workings, but it's
Okay. Yeah.
applying cold through a cooling plate on the bracelet. So it cools your wrist by 10 degrees in 10 seconds and 20 degrees through a 20-minute session. So that first provides a very strong physiological relief locally. So it cools your blood and the area. But more importantly, it sends thermal messages to your brain's thermostat, the hypothalamus, because the inside of your wrist here is the most thermal insensitive part of your body. So by doing so, you tell your brain that it does not need to activate all of the hot flush mechanism it had, which is a stress reaction, and it triggers a full body relief by telling the body you do not need to sweat, you do not need to stress
Right.
or dilate the veins. All of these mechanisms are not necessary, and you can cool down and calm down. And that's why it's very
Yeah.
efficient for hot flushes, and that's why the wrist is a key strategic point for hot flushes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense to really target that. Yeah, I guess it's sort of a regulatory point of the body, something that where there's a lot of information being taken in by the body, and then that way you can kind of provide some control over the body temperature. That's a good way to do it. And how does so is there a battery in the lower part of the device?
The battery is located here, actually,
Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah.
on the upper part, and the cooling system is underneath the wrist. The battery is at the top,
Oh, I see.
and you can charge it. There's a charging port underneath it that is discrete, and the battery lasts for up to 8 hours of cooling or about
Oh,
25 sessions, depending on the intensity at which you use the device. And it's a fast charge, so you can charge it in about an hour to an hour and 30 minutes maximum.
that sounds actually very good. I wouldn't have thought that it lasts 8 hours. That's a pretty good duration because anything changing temperature, it's always a lot of energy. As far as I know, that's the case with air conditioning. But I guess in this case, a big part of air conditioning is taking the humidity out of the air. So you don't have to do that in this case. That's nice. You don't have to spend that energy taking humidity out of the air.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right to say that with cooling systems, the big challenge is energy, and that's why the crux of the innovation we've developed is how we've created a system that is more efficient
Yeah.
at evacuating the heat so that the plate is cold, and therefore needing less power and therefore less battery. And I think
Yeah.
that's why we're one of the smallest and most powerful in the world, is because for a battery of the size here, we managed to achieve that much cooling into a small system. And that's the biggest difficulty, and I think that's one of the key USPs of the technology as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that is very interesting. And I look forward to you guys getting that patent, and then we can go into more details about how the mechanism
Yeah.
works because that it sounds like a very cool mechanism, whatever it is. And so I guess there must be a wire between the battery and the lower cooling part that
Mhm.
goes through the wristband. So is that a custom wristband, or is that something that you were able to find that has that connection?
No, it's a proprietary. It's you are an acute observer, Brendan. There is indeed, you do need to connect the battery to this part, and it is within this part of the bracelet here,
I see.
that we've had to mold. But that was one of the most challenging part of the
Yeah.
industrialization of the production, because it's a very the molding process and the quality of the silicone and the patterns were challenging to get that right and in a way that's repeatable with a high quality result.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great that you guys were able to figure that out. And from what I've heard, when you're working on a hardware product, I mean, and you want to eventually scale up, almost the manufacturing process is just as important as the design part of it. And so how did you guys have to reach out to different manufacturers to be able to build this, or is it more? Are there I've never done that, built a hardware product, so I don't, at least not like for a startup. And so do you go to different websites and they kind of let you describe what you want? How does that work?
It's an interesting world, manufacturing. So yes, to your first point, it's almost equally important. So once to develop a product, first you do a lot of prototyping on the
Yeah.
base component, on the base functionalities you need. For us, it was the cooling system before having a nice design and functionality. So can we get a cooling system of any sort, small enough that it could be on a wrist? So you start working your way like this. Then once you get the right processes, you test the different possibilities. Okay, this is the kind of system we can use. This is the potential of size reduction we can achieve. So now we
Yeah.
can design a form factor around it. So you go through all this R&D process, and all the different elements are very much intertwined with each other. If you increase one aspect of one part of the design is going to have an impact
Yeah.
on the other part.
Right.
If you want, for us, for example, we had to reconcile wanting very strong cooling performance, so 10 to 20 degrees, without increasing the size. So how do you do this? So it means you have other factors and components and elements within the system that this took a good 2 years of research and development on our end, and we had a team of engineers from Dyson, from Formula One, from Arrival, the mobility startup. And then once you get a final prototype, one that works like your
Yeah.
product, then you need to understand, how am I going to make this 1,000 times and achieve the same result,
Right.
basically. And that's the manufacturing industrialization process.
Yeah.
And to be honest, on that front, what you need is good recommendations and introductions from people around you that also do hardware and have also
Right.
manufactured good products. And then you just you just meet a few different manufacturers, send them what you're trying to do. And they can tell you, first and foremost, we think we can do it. We don't think we can do it. We think it's possible. Some manufacturers said it's not possible to do what you're trying to do. So
Yeah.
you have to, when someone tells you this, you just have to ignore them and keep looking for the right partner.
Yeah.
Eventually, we manufacture this product in the UK, which we're very proud of. And
Oh,
for
you
us, it
do?
was,
Oh,
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
it was an important thing because we put sustainability as one of our core values when we started the company.
Yeah.
And so to manufacture in the UK means we're reducing the transits
Right.
of many components, and also reducing the emissions associated with it. Now, I can talk to you more about sustainability. Of course, we've done some interesting things as well at the engineering level. But on manufacturer aspect, once you find a manufacturer, there's different parts you need to manufacture. We have different suppliers for different elements. For example, the casings are done by one manufacturer. The silicon strap is done by another. Then you need the components. Then you need the right place to create the PCB, the assembly, and eventually add as well QA and QC, quality assurance and quality control procedures. So it's a very iterative process. You do a lot of small test runs of different steps to see, is this a reliable way to do this? That's going to mean
Right.
it's qualitative every time. Because in manufacturing, one of the most important things is your yield. How much, when you do 100 times the procedure, how
Sure.
many units come out good enough to be sold versus how many do you have to scrap? And you really
Absolutely.
want your yield to be in the 90 to 95%. Otherwise, you're wasting money and it's actually terrible for the environment. So that's a very, very iterative process that you keep improving one batch after another.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're first talking to these different manufacturers, I mean, at first I was picturing that they're halfway across the world, maybe, but that's good. The closer you can meet in person, possibly. But how do you know who you can really trust? I mean, do you just try it out first? Like, okay, make me 5 or 10 of these, and then we'll see how it goes from there, or do they just sort of show you some of their other products that they've made?
Mm. So first, you really want to work with a manufacturer that you've been introduced to by someone
Okay.
you
Yeah.
trust, so
Yeah.
that you know already because we did
I see.
experiment. We did also experiment. We talked to manufacturers in China and in the UK, and actually even in other countries in Southeast Asia as well, because there are so many of them. If you just call a manufacturer, you don't know who you might end up with. So it's very important to help you sort of triage a little bit, get an
Yeah.
introduction to people that can trust, see what products they've done, what kind of other products they've manufactured. So that gives
Right.
you an idea of what level of complexity they can handle, what level of miniaturization, which for us was important because it's a very miniature product. And then you start working with them. You can't really, unless you're doing something that's been done a lot before. I don't know if it was a pepper grinder. Many manufacturers. You might ask for samples of things they might have done separately, but when you're doing something that's never been done before, you have to pick one and go on the journey with them to develop the process to do it. Unless you have a lot of time and money to run that in parallel with two manufacturers, as a startup,
Right.
you're picking one and kind of work with them closely
Sure.
to get to the point where everyone's happy. So, for example, for us, for the first batch, Angus, our co-founder and CTO, was in the factory with them for 1 week, and that's why being in the UK was important. It meant that
Yeah.
when there was a problem, Angus could just drive down 2 hours and go down and help them solve the problem there. Whereas if you're in China, you have to travel halfway across the world.
Right.
Samples that they send you back can take a lot of time. So you're wasting a lot of time. You are saving money in China, but in terms of the speed of your manufacturing process and the quality that's going to come out of it for a product that's complex to produce, for us to make it at home was invaluable because we had so many problems and we had to solve them, like with everything in
Yeah.
hardware. And to be 2 hours driving down from the factory was instrumental in us delivering in time.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, it's such a tighter, cleaner feedback loop to be able to actually go to the factory
Mm.
and see it, what's going on. Because I mean, if you're not even seeing the assembly line or you're seeing the process that they're using, you don't really even know what to say to the manufacturer. I mean, how can you say, you don't even know the questions to ask because you don't even know the process that they're using to build it. So it's definitely a lot better to have that in-person contact and for them to see you and know you and for you and vice versa because it just creates a lot better feedback loop there and connection with each other.
Oh, completely. And I mean, they'll send you pictures and videos so you can see things visually,
Yeah.
but also culturally speaking, working with Chinese
Yeah.
manufacturers, depending on whether they have a good translator or you do, it's a real thing, the cultural difference in the way we work. So when you do a new product that is difficult to manufacture, it was easier for us to, and also as a startup, we were also learning ourselves how we
Sure.
can manufacture our own product. So in that respect, that was a more a good strategic decision we've made.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just another quick question about this. So, how did you meet the people that introduced you to the manufacturers? Were they networking events, like maybe wearables events?
How did we meet these guys? I think there were different things. So to answer your question,
Yeah.
accelerators. We did a couple of accelerators focusing on
Okay.
hardware. And so whenever you do, if I had to give this advice to anyone else doing a hardware startup, I would say go to places where people do hardware because
Yeah.
they're the only one who will know how to recommend you. And ask
Right.
people who have a product in the market, who do you use? Who do you work with? And they can push you, put you in the right direction. Uh, there are not that many events I think focusing on hardware, but I know accelerators you would have some. Yeah, mostly I would say that that's probably the best route. Another way you can do it is look at products you like
Yeah.
outside of the obvious Apple Watch and see if you can find out who manufactures this. Because that might give
Right.
you as well an idea of who to talk to. For example, for us, we knew there was another manufacturer considering who are doing a killer product in called Shuri, the toothbrushes, maybe you know them, in the US. And for if this manufacturer does Shuri, that could be very helpful for us as well because they're demonstrating they have the right quality.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, and for those that haven't started their own startup, I mean, even starting a software startup is incredibly tough. And so I'm always impressed with hardware startups because there's just so much the iteration loop is a lot, tougher to complete because you're dealing with physical products, so you can't just, copy code and it's instantly there once you paste it. There's a lot more physical barriers that you have to deal with. So I always admire hardware startups. And did you guys have a mentor, anyone that kind of helped guide you guys?
Yes, that's one of the things we both looked for in terms of like how do you develop a startup. Because my first business was more of a company, I guess, as a startup with a high tech product, and
Yeah,
on the technological side as well. So that's when both mine and my co-founder Angus's networks were very useful. We got some advisors and mentors on fundraising, and not only they kind of explain you the 101 of fundraising. You can find
yeah,
that information online. You have so many webinars where you can find that for free. But what they'll do is they'll do introductions. They'll give you advice when you're in front of a situation. It's like, I'm not sure how to respond to that, or here's the dilemma I have, and
yeah,
that's very helpful. On the technological side, same thing. Angus is an excellent engineer, is an ex-Dyson, so he's done a lot of product development before. But sometimes it's not that you don't know the answer, it's that you know which choice you want to make, but you
yeah.
kind of need the confidence to do it. So it's nice to talk with someone
Sure.
else
Yeah,
that helps you validate that choice, that strategic decision, or make you doubt it and maybe reconsider it. So it's sometimes about someone telling you a piece of advice. The other is to someone you just need another brain to challenge, basically to challenge what you're thinking to know is this the right path. So we had advisors from the startup world, investors, but we also had like ex-Dyson, very senior people at Dyson advising us that were working there before. And that was very invaluable, obviously, because people who have done this before, much more than we did, have
yeah,
invaluable expertise.
yeah. It's always a lot easier to catch up from someone's knowledge that's already been through it. They've already hit the pitfalls. They've already, went down the dead ends, and they can just tell you, don't go down that path. It's a bad path, and then save maybe months or even years of your life. So it's a huge advantage to be able to catch up from people that have done something before.
Exactly.
Um,
And one
yeah.
piece of advice on that, though, that I've received before, and I thought it's very true, so I'll pass it on, is don't take advice from people who haven't done what you're trying to do
Yes.
something related to. Like if you're doing hardware products and you're talking to a like a digital designer, but you need a mechanical engineer to help you solve a challenge,
Yeah.
listen to the mechanical engineer and don't listen to from advice people who don't really know what it is to be in your shoes.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Like, yeah, it is true that you can gain a lot of advantage from listening to people and catching up from what they know. But at the same time, yeah, you want to be discerning in the advice that you take. I always like to say, unless someone's done the exact same thing and they did it like today or yesterday, then the advice starts to degrade from there. Because I mean, one, they have to be an expert in that specific area. Even if honestly, even if they're an expert in a general area that encompasses what I'm working on, but they haven't worked on my specific problem, even then I would still not, take it at 100% confidence because really each problem is different. So it's ideally you want to get someone that just recently worked on the same exact problem that you have, and the recency part is important too because things change so fast, technology, so things could be different
Very
today
true.
than they are a year ago, even or less than that. So.
And that's very true on where I found that to be very true is on fundraising. A lot of people will give you feedback on your pitch deck. And my first round, I was listening to everything. So, oh my God, it's great, great feedback. But then you realize people contradict themselves, and
They,
you quickly realize that it's a lot of subjective opinions, and
sure.
it becomes noise and it becomes stress because you're then it models your vision and what you believe to be true. So
Right.
slowly you have to learn what voices you should trust and listen to, and what voices you should kind of politely, thank them for their advice, but not necessarily follow it through. And that
Right.
takes a bit of practice, but I found that it makes you save so much time because people unwanted feedback at some point makes you reconsider things, and it kind of makes you stay in the place you are because you're here reconsidering your choices. When sometimes what you need to do is move forward and challenge your choices in the real world and learn basically by experience. So
Right.
for me, that's been a very important point to learn to not waste time with feedback that's not necessarily the best.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward, as you develop your product, I mean, what's the ultimate vision? I know you kind of touched before on just cooling devices in general. Is that the ultimate vision, just to be able to, in any scenario, be able to regulate people's body temperature better?
Yeah, I think I mean, that's certainly a first big objective.
Yeah,
When it comes to these products, we've launched in the UK, we've launched in Europe, and we're starting to do really well there. And we're
that's
planning to
great.
launch in the US soon. But we know there's a big appetite. When we met in New York, everyone I met was very interested. So it's
Yeah,
becoming frustrating that the product isn't on the US market yet. So we're
yeah,
hoping to launch it by the end of this year. I would say maybe early next in the US, and I think that will be probably in the first period of time the first objective to really nail this product for hot flushes. But
right,
then longer term, we want to not only integrate data tracking so that we can learn more things about how the body regulates itself,
right,
um, use new LLM and AI technologies to be able to create targeted, personalized thermal management tools as well for human beings.
yeah,
And to answer your point, yes, in every scenario where the body is at risk of heat. So think about climate change adaptation. For example, you have industrial workers who work in the heat, who face conditions that have
yeah,
a huge impact on their health. And so it's about creating systems that not only detect when they're putting their body against under too much heat stress, but then tell them when to take a break and help them manage a cool down period before they can go back to work. That would be one
right,
application. Another thing would be for you a more, I guess, a more generalistic application when there's a big heat wave and you're there running after your taxi to get to a meeting in your suit.
yeah,
Something that can physiologically cool your whole body down very efficiently beyond the stress reaction. And that could be a different format than a bracelet in that respect. So you could think of a bigger version, a neck
right,
device, and then other ideas that we have about other wearables, not necessarily on the wrist, that can help your whole body cool down rapidly. And then finally, we could also look at developing systems to help sleep better. Because when you, beyond just being hot at night, when you sleep, your lower body temperature reduces. So if we could
Yeah.
help induce that through a device, we might help people to go to sleep much faster with a much deeper sleep and with all the health benefits we know from improving sleep. So in general, what we say is we want to become the future of personal cooling and protect humans against heat. But we could also go beyond humans and protect life. You can do systems to help cool down plants or ingredients or things like so.
Yeah.
Wherever there's a need for cooling and temperature control in a portable setting, i.e.,
Yeah.
not in a big building where you can have very big and sophisticated systems to control temperature, that's where our technology could be used.
Yeah, no, when you think of it as just, kind of a general domain of individualized or targeted cooling,
Mm.
I mean, there's, basically infinite applications that could be applied. I mean, it's one of the most fundamental things, just temperature regulation. So there's so many different applications there. And so you had mentioned your go to market to the US. What have been like some of the most challenging things to launching? I mean, is it more on the manufacturing side? Is it more on the connecting with people and trying to get the distribution channels down?
Uh, I want to say everything.
Yeah,
every
right.
aspect is a big challenge.
Yeah,
The manufacturing side, obviously, without that sorted, you don't have a product to sell. So that's
yeah,
challenging, and especially again because this is a new product that not been done before and a complex one. The cooling system within the device, the engineering, we're dealing with features that are zero point 0.1 micromillimeter big or thick. So it's very complex to manufacture this at scale with that level of precision that is required.
yeah,
So on the product side, that was probably the biggest challenge after you've done the R&D. On the commercialization, I think my background is in branding and marketing, so I guess that part is an exciting part, creating a brand, which is
yeah.
something we've done at MyCelsius. If people go on the website at mycelsius.com, you'll see we created a very sophisticated and elevated brand that meant to be aspirational for sort of women's life, women's health and midlife. And that's very exciting to create because we hired a photographer from the US, Celeste Sloman, who photographed some of the biggest female celebrities from, Julianne Moore to Sydney Sweeney, but also the US president she photographed recently, Joe Biden, when he was in office. So working with talent like this was super exciting to create the
Sorry, what
brand.
did you say? You worked with him, or you had some kind of contact with?
No, our photographer for the brand, Celeste Sloman,
Yeah.
she had worked with some of the biggest profiles in the US, and
Oh, I see. Oh, that's very
she,
cool. Yeah.
she had photographed Joe Biden and Jill Biden as well when Joe Biden was in office.
Oh, I see.
So that working with photographers of that talent was for us as a startup super exciting. So we created very beautiful images to help add value beyond just the product, but with a brand, make the product something women will want to wear because it's also stylish and it has a lifestyle orientation. Not just something you wear on your wrist to solve a problem, which are hot
Right.
flashes, but something you wear because it's actually nice to wear. It's stylish, and
Yeah.
the brand around it adds value as well in an aspirational way. I would say the other biggest challenges for launch was probably as the distribution. So we started D2C and securing press, launching adverts on social media, putting in place all the systems, because that sounds like just sending a press release and going on Meta to adverts, but actually you want the right tools in place for data tracking, for traffic tracking,
Yeah.
create the right content and have the right social media strategy. So there's so many elements once you start doing it that requires quite a cohesion and alignment between them. And then it's distribution and education about the product. I think this is at
Right.
launch is the biggest challenge because we're not selling something people know. It's not like we're selling a coffee machine. We have to educate people about what is this new technology.
Yeah.
So cooling bracelet. Okay, how does that cool your whole body down? How can I trust that it works? So we have done medical trials, and who else has tried it, and what are the results? So that for us, the challenge was education, building education and trust, and that's done through content, a lot of content, working with the right influencers, getting the right press. So in the UK, we received fantastic independent reviews from the Telegraph, from the Guardian, which are the two
That's
biggest
great.
probably national media.
Yeah.
from Marie Claire as well, which is a big lifestyle media. So it's aligning all of these things that need to happen to sell a premium product. The price is £229 in the UK. That requires education for understanding and trust building for decision making. That's for a startup with a limited marketing budget. That's certainly an interesting challenge in terms of resource management.
Yeah, a lot of challenges, like you said. There's so many of them to expanding to another country, especially if you're not living there, like getting to know the market. But yeah, I did look at your guys' website, and it looks very nice. So I want to, compliment you guys on that. Definitely seems like a nice, sleek brand. And also as far as design, I mean, do you guys have a some different bracelet design options, sort of like for the band part that connects the two devices? Is that are there different options there?
Yes, we have. I can show you the other product after if you want. If I can go and pick it up, it's just next in the next room. But we have two different color options: a gold one and a silver one, and then
Yeah.
you can customize the strap that goes around the product. And so we have five different colorways for this
Yeah.
that you can see on the
If you want to
website.
go get them, we can,
Can we
that's
pause
yeah,
and
sure. Yeah,
do
yeah.
that? So currently, we are selling this product on the
Very
market,
nice.
which is the silver colorway. You can see the strap is light blue. And then there's five different color straps you can choose between black, pink, beige, which we call gold, and navy blue. And this
Yeah.
one here that I'm wearing is actually a limited edition. We're going to launch very soon with the gold bezel,
Ah, I see. Yeah.
which is a more premium one. But this is the main product on the market now, especially for summer. It's a little bit more
Yeah, that looks nice.
vibey.
Yeah, I would imagine once you can get like sort of a critical point where it almost becomes sort of trendy, like there's a community that kind of embraces the uh just it's sort of like you see someone else that's wearing it, it's like, oh, we're part of this community, right? And you talk to each other, and then those kinds of people and some of them may become like evangelists, and they'll do part of the education for you guys, right? They'll tell their friends all about it, and then educate the people around them, and that'll be, that's maybe one of the best points you could get to, because you're just your own customers are explaining how it works to other people, and it's sort of spreading organically. So hopefully you guys can get to that point.
Exactly. The word of mouth is a critical aspect to
Yeah.
get to a point where you have enough products in the market that people recognize it from seeing it around.
Yeah.
That's certainly that's a key goal.
Yeah. And do you guys see, is there anyone else doing this where where you have to compete with them and try to differentiate yourselves, or is it the only device so far that you've seen in the market?
There's only one other competitor, who's a US company who are the pioneers. So I think we have to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
However, their system is very different than ours. They have
Okay.
also
Yeah.
they have a quite stylish product, but their cooling system only achieves 3 degrees of cooling.
Oh,
And
okay.
ours does between 10 and 20. So we're 5 times more powerful at cooling the wrist.
Absolutely.
And so which is a key differentiator, because for us the first priority was we need this product to be efficient at
Yeah.
alleviating hot flushes. Otherwise, it defies the purpose. So that's our key USPs on the cooling performance and how cold the bracelet can make you feel. And then we have also widely different designs, so we have a much more streamlined UX. One of the reasons as well we don't have an app is because we had people getting frustrated from having to connect the bracelet to an app via Bluetooth before they could use their product.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So there's that aspect as well, and then on price as well, we've tried to be a little bit more competitive on
Sure.
the price.
I guess so thinking about competitors, I mean, you said that you're in the process of getting a patent. Is there ever a concern that maybe, someone might try to reverse engineer it before you get the patent? Like, is that something that you guys are concerned about, or do you feel like you have a pretty good moat that's tough to copy?
We do have a pretty tough technology to copy.
Yeah.
So first, our patents are all filed, so we're protected in that respect.
Oh, you do have the
Uh,
patents. Okay.
yeah, the patents are filed.
Okay. I thought they were still in progress or something. Okay.
So the patents are filed, and So that provides a level of protection.
Yeah,
And then the
that's
second
great.
protection is in the complexity of the engineering itself. As I was mentioning, where to fit everything within these two small packages required engineering in the realm of micro zero point 0.1 micromillimeters. So
Wow.
the complexity of it and the way everything fits together is not something you can just copy by watching, I guess, regardless, because
Yeah,
on the software probably, but then to turn the software into a
yeah,
physical product, that's where anyone will face the same challenge we have. And in the manufacturing process as well, we have quite a headway. Probably, I would say probably a couple of years headway there, because
great.
it will be difficult for anyone to copy this product in that respect. And that's been achieved because of the level of our engineering team. My co-founder, CTO, has an incredible experience when it comes to designing
Yeah,
miniaturized cooling systems, and there is quite a niche expertise there in the market to have as well.
yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing that you guys were able to get such precision, and I'm sure that's a whole other area we could go into. But for now, I'll stay focused on the product and business side. But if sometime once you guys have all your patents cleared and your mechanical engineer friend wants to come on, he's welcome to come on.
Sure, with pleasure. I'm sure
Yeah.
about that.
And how's it been starting a company, a startup in the UK? Has it been like
Um,
accommodative as an ecosystem?
Yeah, very much so. If I had to compare to France, where I'm from, London is a fantastic place. In Europe, London is probably the best place to do so. Paris is great for other reasons, but in
Yeah,
terms of the culture, it's not quite the US and New York, where everyone, where the energy and the drive and everyone wants to see you win. But it's very encouraging. Like people, want to give you a chance to see what you can do and achieve, as opposed
right.
to in France, for example, is very much people will ask you, what have you studied? What's your background? What have you
Yeah,
done before that justifies you can do this? Whereas in
right.
England, it's like, do it. Go
Yeah,
out and do it and see
yeah,
if you can do it, which is very
that's great.
refreshing. And there's lots of great incentives for early stage investment as well, which make it a decent environment for fundraising. And then it has also its defaults as well. But from that perspective on innovation, it's a good ecosystem, and you have fantastic engineers. And something else to say about England,
Yeah.
especially in the southwest of the country. In Bristol, which is one of the UK's biggest cities. It's a bit like, think of it like Boston and New York. You have London and Bristol,
Oh, I
and yeah,
see. Yeah.
and in Bristol you have Rolls Royce, you have Dyson, you
Yeah.
have LV. You have a lot of very big hardware companies. So you have
Right.
fantastic engineers there who go on to work for these companies, learn how to achieve,
Yeah.
at the biggest level, and then create their own thing. So in that respect, the UK is great, and as well from the startup point of view, fundraising. So access to capital and also creatively speaking, London, when it comes to creative, is one of the best places in the world. And having worked in the music industry before, I've seen it firsthand. So from that perspective, it's very positive. But one of our motivation as well to move to the US is to get to the next level of that, I guess, in a sense, where the energy, the drive for success and achievement is just, seems bigger and stronger.
Yeah, I've seen interviews of Demis Hassabis. He's the leader of the Google AI kind of team, and yeah, he's from the UK, and he always says, I mean, there's so much talent there. He says that he feels is of course, yeah, there's a lot of startup culture in the US, but there should be more. He always says, like in the UK, in Europe, because there is a lot of talent that needs to be drawn on there. So it makes sense that maybe the talent in the there's so much competition in the US for the talent, right? Because there is such a startup culture, and so it can be tough to find the right people or to get their attention that way. So, um, but yeah, um, what would you say is your feel of the landscape overall of the wearable market? Like, is it are there certain things that you've noticed? Is it tough to break into in general? Is there a lot of are there a lot of new devices popping up that are doing well?
It's interesting because it's become quite a crowded market.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you have huge players who have emerged, like Whoop, like Oura Ring, doing incredibly exciting things, and especially on the data side of things. I think from our perspective, we're a very different type of wearable. We're intervention-based wearable, and there are very few products doing that. So that, something you wear that intervenes on the problem to resolve it there and then, as opposed to all the tracking wearables that track information, that tell you what the problem is, how to solve it, but they don't solve it for you. And so in that respect, I think we can be quite complementary to any of the, within the wearable market, as opposed to clashing for a space, a space within. I think if you're a tracking-based wearable today, it's very challenging from a consumer level to break through. There's some plays, I guess, around more B2B and B2C, B2B2C strategies around, getting enough users to collect data and use that data to integrate within other systems. But I think if I had to guess where it's going next, I think it's still a bit not limited, but I haven't got creative enough. It's certainly something I want to do with MyCelsius is in the formats we're using. Wearables have been mostly, at least the very popular consumer one, wrist-based, which indeed, because it is the prime real estate, I guess.
Right.
And Oura Ring was very interesting in the fact that they introduced a new format, a new place where you could have a wearable that was even more discreet. And I think the reason why it's been always these areas, mostly there, is because it can be cumbersome. It's a device you have to wear, right? So it has to really bring value so that you will wear something, right?
Absolutely.
And I think for me, in the world of tomorrow, when you have 3 times more heat waves than you did before, and thermal comfort is so important. Looking at other applications on your body, like the neck or maybe the feet, or maybe a cap on your head, will not only become acceptable to have wearables to help you cool down, but actually will become something that is necessary and almost non-negotiable. So I think the wearables could expand to other parts of the body, and some companies already address this in some ways. But probably the risk is getting too crowded now.
Sure. Yeah, no, any startup that you have, there's always going to be competition in that space. So it always is there's ideas out there. So it's good. It's good to do the market research and realize that they're there, but also not to be discouraged. But an idea that just popped into my head was that we kind of have these natural heat sinks or cooling devices on our head, our ears, right? They kind of have a high surface area, a lot of blood flows through them, and they can let off a lot of heat. I wonder if there'd be some kind of good form factor for like headphones that you wear and you can listen to music. So you got them in your ears anyway, but also they cool you down. Just an idea that popped into my head, but I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
It's certainly something we've had on some of our brainstorm boards. It is indeed, and it's what's intelligent about this is you integrate it into into something people are already wearing.
Right, no, that's I guess a good way that makes it easy to kind of work it into the market for sure. Relatively easy. Everything's still tough.
I was already, as you said this, I was already thinking in my head, so how would we integrate that component within the headphones? Okay, that's a challenge, but maybe if we put it there. So yes, it's the simplest idea, the most complex problems behind them. But once you solve them, then you're on to something very positive.
Absolutely. And what would you say? I know you said some of your challenges launching into the US, but overall, what do you think has been like the toughest challenge or some of the toughest challenges so far?
For MyCelsius?
Yeah.
I think it was having to develop a product for 3-4 years before we could get it onto the market, because I don't want to say it's not quite deep tech, but it did require a lot of R&D. And so to sell that vision for 3 years and a half, to secure the right investments from private investors, sell the vision, you're then so dependent on making the product happen. And so it's been about the timeline. Like we didn't have much time for error in a way. Like you do a lot of trial and error in engineering, but we had time windows. And then if you don't deliver within that time frame, then you've run out of your funding. And what else do you have to show? Until you've gone to the market, you don't have commercial traction. So it's kind of a deep tech challenge in a way to sell that vision. And especially at first, our first prototype looked like a prison tag. It was huge, all gray. Our first investors I have to commend them for seeing the vision and taking the risk. Like, that could work. So that's probably been the biggest challenge that we kind of came out with as we launched now. We've gone through our first big the first, I guess, big phase of the company, having a product that demonstrates the technology. Now I feel like now we're getting onto a more traditional startup challenge, which is establishing the best commercial route to market and grow in a way that make the company really grow and take off.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no, you gotta appreciate those early investors that really see that vision, that dream, especially if it looks like an ankle, a house arrest bracelet or something like that. So
pretty much, it's the feedback we had from one of our early users. Is I love the queen, but this looks like a prison tag. and you know what? She was right. We didn't disagree.
Yeah, and thanks also to those people that are willing to give honest feedback too, because it may hurt in the moment, but it does help in the long term.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's good to have that. And last question here, just what's the most valuable insight or insights that you would give to another founder that is also trying to start a company that could save them maybe a year of their life or maybe more than that?
I would say trust. If when you start, it's difficult to trust yourself because you have a lot to learn, so you want to listen to other things. But more often than not, your instinct is not far off. That's the best way I can put it into without saying just believe in yourself. So I think it's faster to do. Like you can in the early stages, you can waste a lot of time trying to get the right answer from people who know, and you might not have that. So I think sometimes it's about just go and try things, and that will be the fastest learner you can do, and that's how you will save time, rather than avoid doing a mistake. Sometimes doing that mistake teaches you twice as much and therefore saves you time in the long run.
It's true that I mean, we talked before about taking advice from people, whether when to pay attention, when not to, but I mean, the ground truth is what you actually see is happening in front of you. You have to see what are the causes and effects, and if you're seeing a certain cause and effect, and that's the reality that you see, that's much more important of a source than someone that, even if they're an expert, is giving you advice just offhand. I mean, people say a lot of things, right? And so they may just say something because that's what comes to their mind, but they haven't actually tested it. And so it's always important to just test out what works, see where it breaks, and then see where how you might be able to stop it from breaking or and stop the issue.
I think that the most important thing you can try and focus on, all the things you're going to have to try and do at first, is think of like delivery and execution. Like do as much as you can to learn, and don't be afraid to get it wrong, because otherwise you'd spend a lot of time trying to do the perfect thing because you're afraid to put it out there and then get the negative feedback. But perhaps the going with that second advice is learn to not take things too personally and take criticism, because it's better to do things wrong and learn that way than never do it and stay a bit like a lot of people, I think. Take a lot of time, want to get everything perfect before they go out. And then, like you said earlier, like when you want to try and do a medical device, you might spend 2 years certifying that medical device, but no one wants it. So I think find what are the critical people who you need a return from on what you're building, whether it's a digital product or a hardware product, and listen to them. That's probably the fastest way to get to something useful.
It's 100% true. That first interface with the potential customer will give way more useful information than any kind of like thinking through things in your head or asking people for advice, because there's just so many. The customer doesn't need to think about. They don't need to figure out will this be something that's useful for them or not. They know it because they know themselves, right? And so they just have that information readily available. They can just tell you, would I buy it? Because they are the ones that are buying it, right? So you can ask all the people in the world, but at the end of the day, I mean, the customer is the one who decides to buy it. So the quickest way is just ask them. Yeah,
that's 100%. And maybe another one is and is the hardest to do. Don't compare yourself to others. You're on your own unique path. You're building your own unique thing. That's another big time waster. One that you'll see people doing. It can take you down, and you'll lose energy for a day or two.
It's true. That's one of the very tough mental battles in the startup life. So on social media, even I even feel bad sometimes. I hope when I release these podcasts, people don't get discouraged. They see someone else successful. But yeah, never compare. it's so easy to do it these days. Try to block. Not spend too much time on social media where you're comparing stuff all the time. And yeah, it's a lot healthier mentally that way. And if you can keep a good mental mindset, then you'll be it'll be a lot more sustainable, which is kind of the name of the game for starting a company, just being persistent and keeping at it. So it'll definitely go a long way that way. But yeah, Maxim, it's been a pleasure having you on. You got a fascinating product. It sounds like it's doing very well. So I look forward to seeing how it grows and develops. And if you need any help connecting with people in the US, I'm happy to help out.
100%, Brendan. Thanks very much for having me and give us the chance to talk a bit about MyCelsius. We'll certainly see you in the US very soon.
Yeah, you're always welcome at the events, or if you want to meet up, whatever it is. And I'll connect you with that guy, the founder in out of Scotland. You guys might have a lot of good.
Oh
good
yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's also
Awesome.
on wearables.
And likewise, Brendan, if there's anyone I can connect you with or any help I can bring as well, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Brendan. Take care.